Hello everyone, welcome back to the Killing Game, where third time's a charm. Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. What do I think of it and what's going on? So before we get into nitty gritty, I want to say that the majority of this review will be showing the beginning of the game. So that is mainly what most of the footage will be. But I am going to try and fit in a few snippets of photos and or video of class trials in here to show what that looks like. But that may be incredibly limited, or I may just even scrap that, to be honest, because it's really hard because I don't want to spoil anything. So I will see what I can do. If any of that shows up, it will be as minimal as possible, with the most important thing being to not spoil who the killer or who was killed for the first trial. So with that said, let's move on. So Danganronpa V3 is the third game of the main series and the fourth game It's third game of the main series and the fourth game of the overall series, as Ultra Despair Girls came before it as a spin-off, which was a third person kind of fail. Now, this is like the original two games is mainly a visual novel style game with mystery elements when someone gets killed in the court trial where you have to figure out who done it or die trying. Similar to the previous games, there were 16 ultimate students who all proficient at something in particular found themselves trapped in the school with the usual culprits of Monokuma, the headmaster, behind winning this killing game. But with him, though, are the Monokubs, a group of Power Ranger-style Monokids. Monokumas. Monokubs. Though, to be fair, one of them is actually called Monokids. Maybe you shouldn't call them that. But, anywho, the kids find themselves trapped in a school similar to the previous games with a giant wall all around it, able to see the sky and everything. You play the game as Kaede, the ultimate pianist, and also team up with Suichi, the ultimate detective, throughout the course of the game to discover the horrible atrocities that will happen throughout this game, as all your lovely husbands and waifus all brutally murdered as you get closer to the end to find the truth. Come on, that's just where we all are every game. It's just the sad truth. Anywho, many familiar with the previous games, the non-stop debates, and many of the mini-games are returning along with the consent system of the second game. But there are some changes to two games that are primarily updated from the previous game. Hangman's Gambit has been updated to essentially be where you can't see the letters, and they go side to side, and you can temporarily see the ones in the middle area by focusing, and then you just select the letters to spell out the word. Made much simpler than the previous Hangman's Gambit. On top of that, you have the Psychic Taxi, which takes over, I believe it was called Logic Dive or Driver, or that. It's a surfboarding minigame from the second game. Psychic Taxi's difference is you spell out the question by collecting cubes and then choosing a path for the answer to that question. Well, Logic Dive, you just simply did a little weird kind of slope jump, moving around, get a question, choose a path. So it added a little bit more, while Hangman's Gambit took a little bit. And then, like I said, there was the consent system. But there are many new systems added. Among the evolution of debating, as the second game added consent, agreeing with someone, you also have the new mass panic debate, which is basically non-stop debate, but multiple people talking over each other as multiple windows open up, showing people arguing, screaming, panicking, and freaking out about either accusations or the situation going on at hand. And on top of that, they can also do a shout that blocks off everyone else's comments, which say, let's say character 1 makes the comment you need to make a statement on, but character 3 out of the 4 people who are all yelling at the time makes a huge yell and blocks you from interacting with any of the other people's panels at the moment. So you need to shoot down, similar to the noise system that was found in both the previous games. Shoot it down, and then you can interact with the appropriate panel you need to. And with that said, also, the noise system is just as same as noise covers up upon points that you need to shoot down. And, well, you shoot them down with your noise silencer. On top of that, you have a new mini-game called Mind Mine, which it's kind of like you have a bunch of different colored blocks, and you can change the color of a set of blocks, and it changes the ones around it too. So you're essentially trying to make a big group of one color, and then you can break them all together. And your objective is to find a certain object to apply to the question of the minigame. On top of that, the rhythm game has a much newer style to it from the previous 2 games, but it essentially works the same, where it's rhythm-based, and you make a final statement at the end. But it's just been mostly changed from how it looks. With that said, most of the case and everything is pretty similar to the layout design of the other 2 games, if you're familiar with them, opposed to those. But on top of that, there's one more new system that is really new, adding more to the debate, where obviously you have disagreeing, consent, and now lying. A very big theme with the game is lies, lies, and lies. Lies up the yin-yang, and a lot of red herrings too. So lying would of course be part of the class trials now. There are moments where you'll have to lie, and there are even optional moments where you can lie to completely change what's going on. Now, the optional lying aren't huge changing factors of the court case. They just kind of like an alternate slight route that leads to the same ending path, essentially. But pretty much every case at least has one moment where you have to lie. So it is a system you have to at least use once per trial, with a few side routes that you can take. As opposed to that, pretty much just like in the previous 2 games, after everything is settled in the case, you go over the entire case with pictures, putting the crime together, go over the case, and, well, you know, punishment time or whatever revolution comes from the ill fate of the crime takes place, and you move on to the next chapter. Now, this game, in my opinion, is a mindfuck compared to the other 2 games, considering its theme with lies. I think that is a very important theme to keep in mind when you play this whole entire game. And I will go over spoilers at the very end, like I usually do in all my reviews, not during the main portion. Now, what is there to do after you beat the game, though? You find the grand conclusion. You can, of course, go back and replay the trials and find alternate routes through lying, get mana coins, or just re-experience some of the additional scenes. Now, unlike the previous 2 games where you usually can just get everything by talking to everyone, there are a few unique scenes that say, like, you need a particular item from either the casino or the... I think they all come from the casino, but I can't necessarily guarantee that because I don't have all of them. I think I'm missing about... I'd have to go look. But there are a number of few scenes where you need a particular item, essentially. Whether they come from the casino or the Mana machine, which the Mana machine, for anyone who's commonly plays, is a little vending machine you put mana coins in. The casino is something completely new that you get as the game progresses, along with higher difficulties of the mini games, and they are their own currency, but you can trade in mana coins for them, but there's only so many you can get that way, because mana coins have only two ways of getting in the actual story. The usual way at the end of a quest trial. However, there is another way. In the first game, you got from examining shit, which really made the game drag out. In the second game, you got them by finding hidden Monokumas, which actually is a returning feature, but you do not get mana coins. They're just collectible little Monokumas you can find throughout the storyline. But in this one, you get the ability to actually punch different items in the background. Now, not everything can be slapped and bitched around. Some things can and some things can't, but the things you can produce mana coins. So you'll be able to get coins that way, as opposed to simply just doing class trials. But obviously, the class trials will be the faster way. On top of that, there's a lot more interesting stuff with the intimacy scenes of hanging out with people. As I said, there are unique scenes of where you need a certain item and talk to a person at the right time during a portion of the storyline to get that to be able to happen. The actual interaction, hanging out scenes of making bonds and, getting shards so you can get skill upgrades. And then there is the love hotel scenes, which are in the casino. You can get a love key, which at nighttime will trigger randomly, going to someone's dream, which goes to the hotel, and you basically get to see what their dream fantasy romance scenario kind of is, essentially. These scenes are random, and you need a love key, which is very expensive with casino coins. I got 2 of them during my playthrough, but there was one for every single character, and on top of that, one of the unlockable mini-game things you get after, which is, what was it called? The Love Across the Universe, that's what it was called. The Love Across the Universe minigame is essentially the school/island mode of the previous games without the weird minigame to bog it down. You essentially have access to the casino and hanging out with everyone. So it's a lot simpler to do that. But on top of that, there is a unique ending to each character that's in this mode that isn't a part of the normal story mode. On top of that, you also unlock a dungeon crawling game and a board game. First, you get the board game. These two games actually interact with each other. The board game is kind of a funky Monopoly, kind of weird-ass thing, where you go around the board and building up talent for your students, and these talents, skills, abilities, and their stats are used to make their character for the dungeon crawling minigame. So you don't actually level up by killing things. You actually build the character's levels and stats and abilities by playing the board game, which offers many random elements to it, making it not easy to develop a character exactly how you want. Luckily, you can re-roll and make a character over again, so you can have your favorite waifu or husbando in your party to help you in an agonizing Monokuma's test. The dungeon is... It tells you it's 50, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's actually 100 floors with a secret boss past the level 50 mark going to 100. So it's a 100-floor dungeon crawl. It's not anything too advanced. It's very simple RPG kind of thing, but it gets pretty freaking hard as you get into it. And on top of that, the 2 modes basically have a random thing with the characters you get. You start off with the complete cast of V3, but you can actually get characters from Danganronpa 2 and Danganronpa 1 to be party members. there are three versions: the normal, the student, and the ultimate versions. And developing a student ultimate in order normal, student, ultimate, obviously the ultimate version is better and has higher growth rate in that while playing on the board game. But when you start the game, you have a machine that feeds out cards that consume gold, which you get from the dungeon crawling. But the percentage is dependent on your distance in the dungeon, which is always after one of the bosses. The percentage rate starts off incredibly low for higher upgrades, but as you walk in, you'll get a slightly higher percentage that gives you a slightly chance of getting a better card. But the dungeon mode isn't anything too fancy. It's not really like a heavily deep RPG, but it is a fun little mini game, especially if you dig the cast of all three games or have certain favorites in all three games. You can make your dream party and kick ass. As opposed to that, you also get to unlock an event, movie, arts, and music gallery, and the intimacy event of all the different hanging out, love hotel, and stuff like that. You can unlock all those events in that. And of course you get a chapter select mode as you're beating the game to go and warp, like during free time, deadly life, class trial. You can see results for each trial, start at the very beginning of the chapter. You get all those choices, so you can always flop to your favorite parts of the game and that. Overall though, Danganronpa V3 adds a lot of new elements. It changes some of the visual stuff of the trials, and you gotta keep in mind the original two games were PSP games that got updated for America for the Vita, PS4, and on PC, which Danganronpa V3 is on PS4, Vita, and PC. And it's actually cheaper on the Vita at $39.99, while PC and PS4 or $59.99, not, counting sales and stuff. I have the PS4 version, that is the content you were seeing, and I have the Day 1 edition. Now, I don't know if every PS4 version forever and ever until they stop printing copies of it is going to be the Day 1 edition, because some games certainly looked like that with like Final Fantasy 15 and things. But if you do get a Day 1 edition, if there happens to be a day where there isn't a Day 1 edition available anymore, the Day 1 edition for the PS4 comes with a music soundtrack. If there ever is a non-Day 1, you may want to look into whether it comes with that or not, if you're interested in the soundtrack disc that comes with it. It also has reversible cover art, which, if I remember quickly, they did voting polls. And one of the ones I liked actually got to be picked for the reverse cover, so I'm actually pretty happy about that. Overall, though, I really, really enjoy this game. If you're a fan of this series, I think it is definitely a buy. And I don't really regret paying $59.99 for it at all. Though technically I got 20% off because of Amazon Prime. But I still think it's worth that much. But if you want to wait for a deal or something, you have 3 different platforms that I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you own one of those platforms you can get. You can wait for a discount on a digital or physical copy. Obviously, PC is only digital, but those are your choices to make. I think it's worthy of its full price, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. I love these games. So, with that said, I think it's time to go into spoiler territory of what I thought of the overarching story, the end, and of course, the controversy for those who have played and beaten this. So, if you do not want massive, horrifying spoilers, please stop watching. please stop watching. Anywho. You all gone? I'm being serious. Like, I'm dead serious. If you haven't played this game, please don't spoil it. This is amazing shit to experience, man. So anyway, okay, I'm assuming at this point you have left or you have decided that spoilers are not going to detour you from buying this game and playing it anyway, which, I do that myself. However, there are all games I still don't want spoiled about. These type of games I don't want spoiled about, but I do not let spoilers judge whether I want to buy something still, even, because, I mean, I've had that happen before. So anyway, moving on. So anyway, you already know, I told a dirty white lie. But of course I did that for the benefit of those who didn't, play the game. I kind of horribly lied. You only play Kaede for one chapter. And it was heartbreaking, man. And if you're interested in that, if you go to my Let's Play channel, you can actually see a full playthrough of the story mode. And I'm currently doing the dungeon crawling mode as of this review. But if you're interested in that, you can see my reaction to all that stuff on my Let's Play channel. Anywho. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Okay, so we'll kill main character Suichi? Maybe not. I don't know. It kind of gets confusing at the end, doesn't it? But yeah, Suichi's the main character for the majority. I loved the plot twist and hated it all at the same time. I was heartbroken when the realization came across my mind that Kaede could have done it. Like, I never considered it. I went into the case trying to be as open-minded as everyone being capable of being the murderer, except for who I was playing with. And I got freaking shot in the foot for it. I just felt so terrible. And I just was freaking out when it came to the realization of how, like, the very moment, the incriminating moment she did it. When it all got triggered there, and I was like, losing my fucking mind. Also, like, the voting time, I was just sitting there like, no, I don't want to, no, like, to the very last microseconds, like, no. It was sad, man. It was really sad. The only trial I didn't actually like was the third one, the double murder trial. Oddly enough, Slow Beef, someone I watch occasionally, depending on what he's playing. I don't watch all his content. I watch certain games that he does. Like, I actually just recently got done watching him streaming Ghost Trick for the DS. I really enjoyed that. I love that game too. Really recommended it. I want to do a video on that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Point is, some people actually did like third trial. I did not. I thought it was just all, like, personally, what I hated was the fact that there was really no motive. It was just completely stupid, in my opinion. But I did like all the other cases. And of course, the ending, the grand mastermind, who was behind it. I can tell you all my guesses for, like, everything was all wrong. Like, it really, when you come to the ultimate conclusion, almost like 90% of what the fucking game tells you or hints at is a red herring, a lie. It's not even remotely true. Like, tons of the info and hints and freaking plot dumps and iffy little things that shows you, it's like, oh, this could be virtual reality, oh, we could be ghosts, oh, this could be the afterlife, this could be hell, I don't even know what's going on anymore, it's all fucking lies. It was such a gigantic trolling hellhole. But the revealing of the mastermind, like, that was like a fucking brick falling on my head. The second she said during the recap of the first mortal case during the trial, when she said the bathroom, a brick, a virtual, non-realistic mental brick slammed into my head. And I was like, oh The ultimate cosplayer was the mastermind. Oh my goodness. Oddly enough, actually, one of Slow Beef's friends were actually suspecting her doing the little chatty video of the third trial, I think. So I think he's going to be happy that he suspected her, saying she's so plain. I guess I got suckled again for that, because she doesn't do a lot. She doesn't usually do tons of things. She throws in a few weird, goofy things, but she doesn't do tons. So it's just like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about it. Oh. And I feel bad, because half the time I either thought Himiko might have been the murderer of certain things, or that she was going to die. Like, I was accused of Himiko being the fucking post victim of so many cases. And then it's like, oh, well, it wasn't Himiko, is it? Oh, shit. Crap. I was like, oh, I guess. Come on. I was so mean to Himiko. I was really mean to Himiko. Hopefully her hangout time's fun. I plan on doing a video of that for my Let's Play, hanging out with all the people I didn't. But, pretty mind-blowing. Now, if you're not aware, the ending had a pretty big... Like, there's a lot of people who like it, and a lot of people who hated it. And I think it's because people might have misunderstood the message. Now, to be fair, we'll never truly know what the message is unless the creator himself ever, like, you know, directly says, this is what I meant. You know, we can only interpret it. But I really think people are interpreting it the wrong way. A lot of the people who are mad and being very hateful because of the ending. Because some people think the ending is lecturing that, because we played this game, that we play these mystery games like this, 999, Virtue's Last Reward, Ace Attorney, things that have to deal with death and killing and mystery, and that we're terrible people because we keep wanting more and more of it. And I think that's... I mean, the game itself, during the argument with Kivo, when he's consumed by the thoughts of the real world audience, I feel like a lot of people are taking that too much to heart. I don't think that was what he wanted to get at. I don't think they were trying to say, well, bad people. That now there are also the people who are mad because the ending could overall be interpreted as no more Danganronpa. That's over. The end. Canned. Goodbye. As the creator did say in an interview that he did not want to continue Danganronpa. So people are also thinking that, which that may be true. That is a very big realization of possibly being true. And I can understand being upset about it, but some of the people who are being very toxic towards the creator or people because of it, that's definitely not proper way of doing that. I can understand being sad about it, but I think the deeper idea of the ending was, for one, I do think he meant this to be the end. I believe in that interview he did say he don't mind someone else taking over, like someone else making the next game. Just he doesn't want to do it. So this is his canon ending to it, you could say. His final farewell before the fan base is like, oh, this is the original Kratos end, and then, you know, if someone else takes over, this is the non-canon, blah, 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 you know, like what people do with, like, The Simpsons and shit. Stuff like that. But I think the more important note he wanted to do was the message that fiction could change the world. I think that's a really interesting message of the game overall. Because, I mean, fiction is technically a lie, as Suichi says in the epilogue, that fiction is a lie because it's not real. It's not true. So it is a lie, technically. But they made a lie that made the real world change its mind. And I think that is a powerful message, actually, because fiction can touch us emotionally. I think watching anyone doing a playthrough of this, I've watched 3 people play through this game. One that I thought was really interesting was Weebs. She was very interesting to watch because it was interesting to watch the reactions from a female point of view. Because with a male point of view, it's like I like this female character, I like this female character, and that a lot of people actually liked Kaede. So that like crushed a lot of people's hearts. But obviously being a woman, a straight woman, she was interested in a lot of the guys. So so she was sad too that Kaede died too. I mean, but you get what I mean. It was interesting seeing a different perspective of reacting to the different characters. Know what I mean? But I think it is a powerful message on how fiction can make us feel, change our mind, or make us feel sympathy or empathy for people. It can affect us on a level to understand something or to learn something. So I think it is a very interesting message that a lot of things obviously don't really touch up on. So I really liked the crazy meta ending. Obviously, I'm really sad if this really does mean the end of Danganronpa. But I thought it was a really meta crazy way to end it if this is the case. I appreciate the incredibly creative message and way it was all carried out, and I loved a lot of the red herrings. It kept me on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, and in the end, it never amounted to anything. It all fucking fell apart. It was crazy, man. It's crazy. But I really did enjoy the game. I really liked it. A part of me doesn't want Danganronpa to end, but I think the way the ending went made sense in a way. So much logic behind it. Hope! Despair! Hope! Also, by the way, fun fact, apparently hope in Japanese is kibo. Interesting, eh? Now, I don't know that for a fact. That's something I heard from one of Slow Beef's friends, I believe. That kibo is supposed to be how you say hope in Japanese. So I find that like an interesting little choice there. I guess if you're really familiar with Japanese, you'll immediately be like, Kibo? What's his name? Kibo? Either way. But I definitely recommend this game. If you have any questions or anything, please leave a comment down below. I'm sorry if I did not end up showing a lot or any footage of the trials. It's just, I really didn't want to spoil the first case. I mean, the first case, the ending, I mean, pretty much all of the cases are mindfucks, really. I mean, it's just a lot of crazy shit, man. But that first case and the end shit, like, oh my god, so much crying and getting way too emotional about that shit, man. Oh boy. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Recommend it. Get it on whatever the hell platform you want, physically, digitally, whatever. As I said, though, it is $39.99 on Vita, so if you have a PlayStation TV or a actual Vita handheld, you have that cheaper way of doing that if you want. But that's all up to you. Anyway, until next time, make sure you are still in reality. Okay?
私の作った朝ごはん